Hello and welcome to the 8th episode of the RA Group Daily Webcast. Every day at 3:30 p.m, we host a daily webcast where our panel of experts discuss a wide range of topics to help you survive and thrive during the lockdown. On Monday, we have Matt Keach from Hey Coffee, and he will be discussing home brewing coffee with our head of coffee, Sonia. Today, Leona de Pasquale will be discussing what is wine with myself, the RA Group Head Sommelier. Please feel free to ask any questions throughout the broadcast, as we would love to keep this as interactive as possible. Now, over to you, Leona.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us and to learn about wine. What's the other best thing to do on a Friday afternoon? So I'm the wine training manager from YED. So some of you might have seen me, doing trainings in different sites. So we are going to talk about what is wine today. So I hope everyone has a glass of wine in front of you, with you. So, in the next 20-30 minutes, we are going to, enjoy some wines and learn about how those things are made. Okay, so what is wine? Wines are made of grapes. Okay, so, and the grapes, there are two different types of grapes. We know they are, in terms of colors, we have white grapes, we have red grapes. And we have one slide to show you the difference of the two. So for example, the glass in front of me is a red wine. So what do you think? In order to make red wine, to have those color, where is the color coming from? It will be from the skin. Okay, so this is really important. So I think everyone should try this evening when you are after your dinner. Okay, just peel some grapes, peel the skin, and then get rid of the seeds, and then separate the flesh as well, and then you eat the different parts, and then you will figure out, well, the grapes, when you are eating the skin by itself, is a bit dry, a little bit acidic. But then if you are eating the seed with everything together, everything actually feels like a very interesting and quite tasty. And we need different parts of the grapes in order to make wine. And going back to the grapes, and in order to make, questions for everyone now that's joining us, in order to make a bottle of wine, how many grapes do we need? Should I ask Steph and Gavin? What's your guess? And everyone, please chip in. Please quickly type your answer. Okay, how many grapes do you need? So let's say this 750 ml of the wine, okay, in a bottle. So how many grapes you think we'll need? Steph, what do you think? Our head sommelier today.
Oh, it's a really tough question because it also does depend on what kind of wine and what kind of grape and all of that. But I would say actual grapes, maybe around 250.
Very precise, 250. Okay, how about Gavin? Gavin, you wanted to throw some answers as well?
I think it's more than that. I'm going to go with 1,000. But maybe that's because I'm greedy and I like my wine.
Okay, all right. Have we got anyone answering at all?
We do. We've got Sonia here. She says a lot. She says 7,500.
Anyone else?
We've got somebody else, doesn't have a name, but they say half a vine.
Half a vine. We need a bit more precise answer.
We have someone who says 500. Is he getting close?
Closer. Yes. For Sanya, who say how many? 7,000.
We've got also Hannah says 700.
700.
Anonymous who says 750, and another person who agrees with me with 1,000. Oh, and Emma Williams says 750.
Very good. So for Okay, let me reveal the answer. So for Sanya, who said 7,000, you will probably get roughly more than 100 bottles. So the average is about 600 to about 800 grapes. Okay, so Steph, you will probably just get one third of a bottle.
Oh,
Okay.
a nice large glass then.
Oh yes. So yes, so one bottle of wine, we need roughly 600 to 800 of grapes, and it all depends on the grape variety, as Steph rightly said. Okay, and also some of the quality, some of the producer who are really cares about the quality, then they will really manage the production, the yield of the grapes, the vineyard, to make sure that they don't grow too many grapes in one vine. And then, so then the quality can be maintained, because all the nutrients and nutrition can go to just a few bunches, on the vine. Okay, so I already mentioned for grapes, there are two different types. There's white, there's red. And if you squeeze the grapes, either red grapes or the white grapes, when you squeeze the juice, all the clear juice will come out. Okay, so it's quite interesting to say that for red grapes you can actually make white wine. Why? As long as we don't touch the color of the skin, we squeeze it, we get rid of the skin quickly, and you can make white wine from red grapes. Okay, so all the grapes are coming from vineyards. I hope everyone has visited vineyards, or at least see pictures and all that. So let's have a look of what we do from in the vineyard. Because if we need the grapes, we need to harvest the grapes. So you might have heard that some of the producers saying that all our grapes are hand harvested. And then there are other, other producer, maybe in the US, when the land is so flat, much bigger, and then they will say, oh, we use machine harvest in order to make it really efficient. Do you think we can only make quality wine or expensive wine by hand harvest? Steph, what do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think we can make quality wine with machine harvest as well, as long as it's done very, very carefully and the grapes are picked with the utmost care.
It is quite true. For making quality and expensive wines, we can use, hand harvest or machine. But let's have a think. Can every place in the world, all the vineyards in the world they can imagine, can machine go to some of the very steep vineyards? It's impossible. Okay, so some of the vineyards, they are like in the Mosel, for example, in Germany, where they have like really beautiful Riesling wines, and the vineyards are normally on the slopes, okay, and very, very steep. It's just impossible for a big machine, even if you wanted to, it's impossible, okay. And then, so that's why the only way they can do is to use hand harvest, and it's really, really labor intensive. They will hope that they can use machine, because I've done harvest in Germany, in the Mosel. It is a tough job, okay, because it's quite steep and there's lots of like stones, and it's just very difficult to stand it properly and bend yourself, okay. And think about the other place, for example, in Bordeaux, in France, they make so many expensive wines, red wines, white wines, but a lot of like very expensive chateaus. And but a lot of them, they use machine, because the land is much flatter. And then the most important thing is, even though the machines are not able to select grapes as much as the hand harvested, what they do is they will invest a lot of money inside the winery to make sure that when the grapes are harvested by machine, loaded to the little baskets, and then go back to the winery, and then they will have a sorting table where there will be lots of people trying to sort things out, or there will be a machine, very, very clever machine, to sort the grapes into precision. Okay, and that's why they can still make very, very good wines, by using machines. And so that's the first thing. We need the grape, we need the harvest. After the harvest, well, if you've visited vineyards, you'll see they actually normally loaded the grapes into like a destemmer, a crusher machine. Okay, and so this is what I can show you. So you can see on the slides. So after the harvest, the grapes will be loaded into small baskets. Normally for like producers who are really cares about the quality of the grapes, they will put the grapes into small baskets. Why? What do you think? Why can we not just load everything in a huge one? Gavin, you want to have a go?
I'm going to guess that it would crush the grapes and start the winemaking process a bit too early or prematurely. And I'm going to guess they can't control that at that point.
Exactly. Very, very good. Because imagine if you load it in a big basket, okay, and then everything that loaded first will be crushed, kind of slowly, gradually, and then they might be starting to become wine before you even get to the winery. So that's why for quality producer, they find it is extremely important that it protect the grapes, during after the picking and before transporting to the winery. Okay, so that's why they do that. So also on the same image, you can see on the previous slide, the one that then you will be able to see the destemmer as well. Okay, you can see myself in the middle at the crush and destem. I'm the one in the middle who is trying to help and load the grapes into a destemmer. And then on the right hand side of the image, you can see after loading the grapes into the destemmer, the stems will all come out. Okay, and then what do they do with the stems? Anyone wanted to have a guess? Do we just throw it away? We get rid of it and throw it away, or can we do something about it? Can we reuse it? What can we do? Steph?
I feel like Steph would know the answer to this one.
Gavin. Well, you can use it as mulch back in the vineyards as like a green I just learnt about this as well. As a green fertilizer.
Yes, that's very good. Yeah. So as a compost for sure. And then some producer will sell that to a distiller, and they can reuse that and distill to a high strength of alcohol. Okay, so yeah, you can definitely use that, but most of the time it will be used as a fertilizer, like what Steph said. So after that,
can I just say that Michelle actually got that right? We did have some questions in, and Michelle suggested compost may be the answer.
Yeah. So excellent. So what we are going to do now, after process all the grapes and loading into the destemmer, the next process is to decide what you need to do next. Okay. So for example, we are going to, for white wine, we might need to press the grapes straight away, okay, and then fermented it. Okay, to press the grapes, there are different ways. You will see the one on the left, the old way, with the feed trodding the grapes, and then the modern way in machines. Okay, really high tech. Those machines, they are normally like balloons inside. You load the grapes inside, and then they will just like deflate it, and also then become bigger, and it's just like using this kind of motion, and then just gently press the juice out of the grapes, rather than just squeeze it really hard and then extracted all the bitterness from the seed, for example. Okay, so it's a really gentle extraction. But we are saying the food trodding, the one that on the left, is the old way. Do you think, Gavin, do we still use that, or can we still use that to do that? I mean, apart from doing that in your own garden, do you think other producers in the world, do you think people are still using it?
I don't see why not. I mean, there's a lot of people who have probably small batches and probably like the traditional ways. And I think there is a bit of a trend to go back to old styles of making wines, or the original styles of making wine. So I'm going to say yes.
Excellent. Yes, indeed. And for example, Portugal is one of the most popular, place where wine producing country they are, which is still using food trading, especially in the northern part of Portugal where port wine comes from. So why do we use, our feet to step on the grapes? It is quite simple. The reason being that our feet is there's a little gap. It's soft as well. It is not something hard. It's a body, right? So when they step on the grapes, it's a gentle press as well. So using our feet, we can gently release the juice, and then also helping. If I'm going to make red wine, it's also helping the extraction, to get the color. Okay, so you get a lot of color, but without getting the bitterness from the seeds or the tannins. That's what we are talking about. The sensation that sometimes make our mouth feel really dry when we are drinking red wine, like the sensation of drinking strong tea. Okay, if you press it too hard, those very harsh tannins will come out, which will make the wine really not very pleasant. Okay, and to really show you, to really prove to you that the old way still exists, I'm going to show you a slide, the next slide, where you can see I did it firsthand when I was in Portugal a few years ago. And in there, you will see on the left side, the top left, and it's when we are posing for photos. So basically what we are doing is after we process all the grapes, we traditionally in Portugal, in the Douro region, they loaded all the grapes after they stem and crush. They loaded everything into a big stone tank. Okay. And then that's exactly what we are doing. So then we need human feet to just go around it, to gently press it, and to help release the color. Okay.
Leona, Michelle asked, do
yes.
people clean their feet?
So, yes, everyone asked me that. Yes, and how? Do you want to guess how we clean the feet? Do you just wash it, or do? Or do we do something about it? How do we wash it?
I asked the question. I'm not sure how you wash your feet other than with water and maybe a bit of soap.
For 20 seconds? No. And so, no, it's not clean enough, okay? So what happened is before we go into the tank, they already have a bucket of water, and then they added sulfide. Okay, so SO2, and sulfide is a type of like preservative, but it also kills all the bacteria as well. So we have to put our feet into the sulfide water for a few seconds, okay, and then we go inside. And and to be honest, after that alcohol will kill everything. But yes, we do our bit by cleaning our feet before, and you will see some of my my co-worker at that time, some of them are journalists. They can see that the guys and many people are still with like yeah, it's not what I'm trying to say. I don't want to reveal too much, but it's very funny because it's really quite squidgy. Okay, it's a very strange sensation, but it's quite interesting. I will really encourage everyone
as you squish it up and down.
You just basically, yes, we just have to walk along the tank, and then you also need to imagine we can't do this during the day. It will always wait until the evening, quite late, okay, because we have to process the grapes first. And when we were doing that on the picture, it was around 11:30 to midnight, and we've just walking like that a bit at the end, like a bit like zombies. It is so tiring. It was really tiring at the end, but it was good fun. Okay, and yeah, but then the most important thing is this still happen. It still exists, and a lot of like producers elsewhere, not just in Portugal, they are still doing that. They are doing that, and especially with this natural wine and artisan, wine trend. More and more people are doing that as well. Okay, and yeah, so this is a way of pressing, and then after that, we will need to do something else. Okay, so for example, fermentation. A little bird told me that some of you learn about fermentation when you have a previous session about making kombucha, right? So can anyone remember what do we need in terms of making the fermentation happen? We need two things.
Is it yeast and sugar?
Very good.
Oh wow.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes,
so the sugar.
For that little piece of information.
So yes, so we definitely need the yeast and the sugar. So for making wines, the sugar comes from the grapes. Okay, the grape juice, there's lots of sugar inside. And then the yeast, where does the yeast come from? It can come from the grapes itself. Okay, what we call the natural yeast, or they can buy packets of cultivated yeast as well, and then they will kickstart the fermentation. So for white wine, because we do not need the color, so we will press and go straight to ferment, okay, without touching the skin at all, okay, for white wine. But then for red wine, we need the color. It is all important color, and also the tannin and everything, all the flavors from the skin as well. So if we press it straight away, we mentioned earlier, you will get white wine, because if there's no contact of the skin, then you don't have the color. Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, Hannah's wrote in and said, how do you make orange wine?
Very good, you spotted it. Yeah. So red wine, on the previous slide, you will see that for white wine and for red wine, you press and ferment, you don't need a color. But for red wine, you need a color, so you ferment and press. So my little question there is, how about rosé wine or orange wine? Okay, I think rosé wine is probably quite easy to understand, because rosé, you need a color, so surely you need to use red grapes, which is what happened. The only difference between red and rosé is the time of the fermentation, the time of the skin contact. Okay, so to make a pink rosé wine, and all you need is just a few hours of skin contact. Okay, so normally will be about, if you want to make really, really pale rosé, probably 6 hours. And then if it's like, something more color, it has got a bit more color, 24 hours, but normally no one will go over 48, okay? Orange wine, I'm not sure how many of you has tried orange wine. Anyone? Yeah? Orange wine is...
I love orange wine.
Orange wine is something kind of trendy nowadays, but it is so ancient. Okay, it is like dating back about 8,000 years from, for example, the birthplace of orange wine, Georgia. Okay, so what happened is, thinking about the color, you need the color, but you want the orangey color. What do you think? Do you think to get the color, can you get it from red grapes, or can it be more possible to get from white grapes? Question to you. Ooh. All of you. Okay. Anyone answered?
I think it's from white grapes, and I think you leave the skins on as part of the fermentation process.
Exactly.
Ah.
So basically,
I really feel like you've done some wine studying before.
Lots of good guesses.
All very good guesses. I think you should go and do the wine diploma as well. You will get all the questions right. And so yes, the orange wine is very, very good, Kevin. It's basically making white wine like red wine. So what do we need? We don't get rid of skin straight away. We ferment it with the skin. Okay, so the skin content is all important for making orange wine. And so a definition for orange wine is white grapes with a certain period of time of skin contact. Okay, and the color is from the skin of the white grapes. Yeah, because you can imagine that there are many, many different, white grapes, but they are never white. The skin is always like yellow or, green, or some of them are orange and all that. So yeah, so it's the same. it's just the color from the skin, and with a period of time of contact. So then, if you drink orange wine, sometimes you will feel that there is a little bit of tannins as well. Okay, the drying sensation in your mouth as if you are drinking red wine, but surely it won't be as much as normally won't be as much as red wine. Okay, in terms of the tannins. Yes, Gavin.
Sean wrote in and said, "Can you mix the grapes?"
You can mix the grapes when making wine for sure. So we can blend the grapes. We can blend the wine. Okay. So there are many different ways of blending. Yeah. When we say mixing the grapes, we are talking about blending basically. You can blend different grape varieties, or you can blend different wine made by different grape varieties. So you can blend it before, or blend it afterward to make sure the styles are consistent. And so you can mix the grapes. Yeah. And so then we are going to move on to very quickly just a review about the fermentation process. Okay, and then we'll carry on to see what's next. So we all know we need sugar, we need yeast, and then it will then come up as the alcohol and then the carbon dioxide. It is extremely important not to forget with fermentation, it comes with alcohol. That is so important for wine, but the carbon dioxide, the CO2, is also very important. Why is it important? Gavin, you always get it right. Why is the CO2 important in making wine? What kind of wine, when we are making it, we need the CO2?
This is an easy one, Gavin.
I can guess it's like a chemical catalyst that you need that to speed up the process or to aid the process.
Yes. Basically, think about Prosecco or think about champagne. Okay, champagne is so important, so expensive, is because they trap the CO2 inside the bottle. Okay, so that's why all this naturally occurring bubble, they are actually the byproduct of the fermentation. Okay, so that's why CO2 is important if you are going to make sparkling wines or champagne. But if you are going to make a normal still wine, and you do not need the CO2, so what happens is during the winery, they will let the CO2 release during the fermentation, release into the atmosphere. So then it becomes really important when you are working in a winery at that time. If you're going to check your wine in the winery, you must open your windows or doors to make sure there's oxygen, the air is flowing. Okay, otherwise, there's lots of injury or death in wineries during those period of time. If you open a tank and check the wine, see if they are bubbling, and then you inhale all the CO2, and then you drop into the tank yourself. It's still scary, it's quite scary, but it happens. Quite a few incidents happens in winery. So CO2 important for sparkling wine, not important for still wine. Okay, and then after the important fermentation, which can take quite long. Okay, sometimes it take about a few days, sometimes it will take weeks. Okay, and then after all that, we will then mature it. Okay, we will need to keep it somewhere to let it settle, and then to let it just mature itself. Okay, before we bottle that. Some of the wine, of course, is a very easy drinking wine. You will probably not need a maturation. You probably just filter it to make it really clear and then bottle straight away. But then there are other wines that most of the time we'll do tank or we'll do oak, or for like orange wine. In Georgia, on the left-hand side, that you can see there's someone inside the clay pot. That's the traditional way of making orange wine in Georgia, and those clay pot is called qveveri. Okay, so that's how you can see on the bottom, the picture after the qveveri. You can see that all the white grapes are inside with the skin, and then the juice itself is quite yellowish. Okay. And so after this, we are nearly there, and then we'll just send it for bottling, and bottled by a machine, and then normally will be bottled by machine, okay, and then you can then ship it. Okay, all important, the delivery, and that's the start. Basically, after you deliver to your venues, and that's the start of our wine service. Okay, and that will be a completely different topic. So that's the whole process of making wine from the beginning to the end. So I hope everyone feel that they learned something. And if there's any more questions, this is a good time. And otherwise, back to you, Steph and Gavin.
Oh, we have plenty of questions. Shall I ask the first one, Steph? Hannah has wrote in saying, what is your favorite wine, color, country, and grape variety?
I come prepared. When you see this kind of bottle, you know what is it. This wine is not German wine, it's from Alsace. Okay, my favorite grape variety is Riesling, and Riesling from Germany, or Riesling from the one in front of me from Alsace. Okay, and I like Riesling simply because they are really versatile. I can, if I fancy some really bone dry wine, very good. If I fancy a bone dry Riesling, I'll be able to get it. If I fancy something really sweet, I can get a Riesling really sweet, and it has really high acidity. It just goes so well with many different different food as well, or just drink it by itself. So that's my favorite.
I think Steph and I would agree that Riesling is also one of our favorites, as we have plenty of bottles.
Excellent.
We have another question from Michelle. She says, what is your favorite champagne?
Favorite champagne? Well, it is a little bit, there are so many, because champagne for me is a really good, kind of like different occasions. I don't drink champagne a lot, to be totally honest.
What is wrong with you? I'm sorry, I do like a bit of bubbles every now and then.
I do drink it when it's like special occasion. I actually, if I may say, well, my favorite champagne, I would say Bollinger. Okay, it's something like a really sort of like, I like a bit of a kick sometimes, and then for Bollinger, it's really like for special occasions. But may I just say, apart from champagne, please give a bit of love and care to Cava from Spain. Okay, they are making exactly the same way as champagne, but they are so much cheaper than champagne, but the quality is really good. Next time, look out for Cava, good quality Cava. Okay, and yes. But yes, my favorite champagne, the brand itself is Bollinger, but I also quite prefer, there are some like natural champagne as well from small producers, and so sometimes I would go for those a few that I quite like. But then in terms of brand, that's the brand I would drink. Steph?
Brilliant. So I think that sort of brings us to the end there. So thank you so much, Leona, for such a wonderful discussion about wine. For more information about our program of discussions, please go to RA Group's website at www.ragroup.co.uk/news to download the broadcast links. Meanwhile, if you have any suggestions or questions about how you can get involved, please email gavin.goody@ragroup.co.uk. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you on Monday. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.